I'm much obliged for such a pleasant stay. But now it's time for me to go. The autumn moonlights my way. But now I smell the rain, and with it pain, and it's heading my way. Sometimes I grow so tired, but I know I've got one thing I got to do. I ran along. Now the time is now. Sing my song. I'm going round the world. I gotta find my girl on my way. I've been this way.
All right, what's up, everyone? We have the next episode of the FTN podcast coming live to you from our remote locations. I think Chicago, Denver, and wherever Ryan finds himself. I never really know if that's Buffalo these days or Boston.
We're going to go with Buffalo today.
Buffalo today.
Well, we got a special episode here for you. We couldn't find anyone on a whim on a Friday night because you guys all apparently have lives during COVID. We couldn't find anyone to come in and actually do their interview tonight. But the three of us, kind of low-life losers who like to stay in and play Halo on Friday nights, I was able to
I have COVID, man.
One of us has COVID. So we.
Hey, I have an excuse too. I'm unemployed, so there you go.
All right, whatever. So I have no life. I was just covering my ass there for a second. But yeah, so we got this special episode here. We're going to be talking about the 2022 season preview. I don't know if this is going to be unhinged. I don't know if this is going to go on for a while. I have no idea. But JD and Ryan both sounded interested in talking about this topic, so I think we can get right into it. JD, Ryan, any initial thoughts before we kind of get into this?
Well, we're in the middle of a baseball lockout, so we hope there's a season coming up. It's been quite some time since I've even looked into anything baseball related, so this will be nice getting back in the groove of the baseball world in FTN, of course.
And it'll be interesting to see how different teams handle the lockout as well, from my perspective, including those that have a little bit older rosters. Just to think, the further this goes, how much further are they willing to hold on to their assets before they might think to themselves that the whole year might be postponed. So just something to keep in mind when it comes to some decision making. Should this go into late February by some
God help any team that made win now moves during this offseason, and then we don't have baseball. Oh, that's gonna suck. And then if that happens, we'll get into it when we get the Beans team. But I'm looking forward to 40 points coming up in 2023.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm looking forward to taking at least 5 of his for free.
So I have no idea, by the way, to the audience out there, what this is going to look like to you guys. It seems pretty limited on what I could, format this video to look like. But hopefully you guys can at least see this a little bit. If not, you guys are free to follow along at home with the beautiful PDF document I sent you guys in the group me and whatnot. But we'll start here. We'll just go in order of the presentation, and so we'll kick off and start with Adam's team here. So I don't know what you guys thought, but I gave him the best record in the league going into this year. I think his time is now.
I've always been high on this team. Biased opinion aside, I'm actually very excited to see his farm system. Was it year 4 here? Finally get instituted. He's been holding on to all of these young guys for so long. We'll get some impact. Very sad that Trevor Story will no longer be a Rocky. In all likelihood,
You never know.
You never know.
You never know with the Colorado Rockies. They tend to do some weird stuff for you, including especially with Trevor Story.
As a Yankee fan, what are your thoughts on Trevor Story? Do you want to see Story in New York, or what's up with that?
I don't think that going forward he projects well in terms of the ideal shortstop for New York, even though he would be a massive upgrade over Gleyber Torres right now. how long is his speed going to hold up? I don't think it's that much longer. I was a little bit worried about the regression we saw last year. And I do think that there are other options open, but for the price that you're going to pay, it's either got to be Correa or you got to go down to the minors. And you got to maybe take a guy that was in AA or AAA last year and start the process with him, because there's not going to be enough.
You know exactly.
I'm not naming names, but there's not going to be another free agent class for shortstops until 2025 or 2026, something like this. So this is your time.
If you open up the farm system document, there's this certain guy named Anthony Volpe, who Ryan is pretty high on. He's in his farm system, and he's the set replacement at shortstop sooner rather than later for the Yankees. So.
Yep. Guess who's right behind him?
Maybe a slightly biased take on Trevor's story there.
Guess who's right behind him, though? Oswald Peraza.
You think Oswald Peraza is being anything other than a Pittsburgh Pirate again, then just let me know. But like he'll be one of those prospects that the Yankees flip to some trash team for, I don't know, a player they think is going to do well but will probably burn out. But okay, so my take on Goober's team, since I haven't done that yet.
Is there a weakness on this team?
The only weakness that I can potentially see. There's only one weakness, and that is in large part due to what he acquired from my team. Now, he acquired Dylan Cease. I think that's an awesome pickup. I think that's probably going to be one of his strongest strikeout pitchers going forward. I do feel like that this pitching staff is just, you could just name them all potential Tommy John. Like Jacob deGrom, we saw at the end of last year, he cost my team potentially a championship with him missing the last 2 months of the season, pretty much. If that happens, he does have enough to be able to still have a really good record, but will that be able to push him over the edge, especially with Jacob deGrom as a Met and winning as a Met being something that's really hard to do regardless of how good you are. I look at his relievers. They're really good. Craig Kimbrell fell off a cliff at the end of last season, but Emmanuel Clase I'm pretty, thrilled about. Verlander's coming back to Houston. That's good news for them. My only other concern would be the left side of the infield, or the right side of the infield, I should say, not necessarily Andrew Vaughn. I do worry about the pickup of DJ LeMahieu and where he goes from there, or what value that he thinks that DJ can still produce at this time.
I don't want to talk about relief pitchers that much, but outside of a certain division, Emmanuel Clase is pretty damn good. I'll give.
Is he a closer? Because Karinchak was kind of slowing down in the year.
Does it matter if a guy's a closer?
Yeah. That's true. Clase provides just solid quality.
Maybe somebody can clarify. Ryan's kind of like a rules guy here. Ryan, is it easier for a pitcher to get a hold than a save? Like, are the conditions, like the criteria to get one or the other, more strict than the other?
Yeah, so to have a save, you actually have to finish out the game. You have to be able to finish your job. With a hold, even if you get pulled in the middle of, let's just say you have a few runners on and you haven't given up the lead yet and you were in a hold position to begin with, you'd still get credit for the hold because you hadn't given up runs up until that point. Unless those runs come in, they're on your watch, and that turns it from a potential hold or save opportunity to
But I guess where I'm going with this, I guess you don't really hear about hold totals. Holds aren't I don't know.
They're not a sexy stat.
Yeah, exactly. But theoretically, though, could you make an argument that there's certain relief pitchers that they should get more holds than a guy would get saves? So would we ever see a pitcher get more the most holds in a season outdo the guy who got the most saves in a season? Or
I think so.
Always going to get more saves than hold guys going to get holds?
I think the hold guy is going to get more holds, considering if you find that it's really an interesting question because typically speaking, I think it's easier to get holds based on what I said. but also you can just rotate a few guys into that position. Like having a closer, you usually have one like main guy you go to all the time, and then maybe one person you throw out.
That's what it
Whereas,
seems. And since we're a save plus holds league, saves and holds are valued equally. So, like, to me, I'm like, if I can get holds for cheaper than saves, and a holds guy is going to get more holds than a saves guy is going to get saves anyway, I mean, I want the holds guy. So I guess if anyone out there wants to like do that research, because I've certainly never done it, or wants to give us like an answer, like, can a guy reliably get can guys reliably get holds as reliably as closers get saves?
yeah. So I have the answer for saves. Now, Melanson last year was the league leader in saves with 39, followed by a few with 38. That includes Liam Hendricks and Kenley Jansen with Will Smith at 37. In terms of holds, there was one person, Luke Jackson of the Braves, at 35. It then went down to 33 and 31, Blake Treenan and Tyler Rogers, due to that.
All guys that, by the way, that list of saves and holds leaders, that's a pretty prestigious list. I know those guys hold some esteem in this league. Like, there were trades for Blake Treenan last year. I know Rogers has come up multiple times as part of the season.
Other
teams as like
we can just
going forward.
I do ask, can we just ignore the Kenley Jansen trade that Max conducted, because I think I will actually pop a vein on camera.
Ignore it. I would think we would do the opposite.
Max, what
really
are
wanted to
you
get to that
doing,
one.
sir?
You could also be the Tampa Bay Rays and have, it looks like 8 players with 10 or more saves plus holds.
Yeah, because the thing about the Tampa Bay players is that they basically use starters a ton of the time, or not starters, but just like a committee most of the time.
Yep.
Openers. And the holds can come in any time during the game. It doesn't have to be past 5 or past 4. It could be like if you have the lead in the second, you can get a hold then.
Yeah, but I think that's where your advantage of having like a true closer like Josh Hader, who's guaranteed to make appearances, that you know if he makes an appearance, he's probably going to get you a save, like on a consistent basis. But those guys are also like few and far between now, that teams are kind of expanding who is able to be, or who is getting the save.
So let's. I do
realizing. By the way, I'm just now realizing that we're 11 minutes into this.
Yeah,
we could probably do 30 minutes on each team.
I know.
Let's just keep it moving. I would say, because otherwise we're going to be here till 4 a.m.
Yeah,
we could break this series up and do like 2 teams per episode and do like 5 or 6 episodes of this.
Yeah, I would just say maybe keep it. I would say keep it at possibly like 10 minutes per team.
Yeah,
and then do that,
something like that.
So, but while we're at it, let's just go to the next slide and figure that out.
I was saying we can continue to talk about this, but okay. There's so much to say here. Maybe that's just because this is Adam's team, and like it's so fucking loaded.
There's so much to say. Yeah, once we get to Bean's team, it'll take like 2 minutes for us to say he sucks. He sucks. He sucks. We'll move on.
Right. All right. So moving on here, let's hit a little bit on the farm system, because once again, probably the most exciting farm system here. So on the left side here, I've identified. I shouldn't say Adam and JD had some input into this document, but I did compile a lot of this, not to take away from what they did, but like these are guys that I personally identified. So JD and Adam might have different feelings, and Ryan too, since he's here as well. Like might have different feelings on who they think the impact guys are. But here are 3 people that I think could like help realistically out, because we've seen top guys come up and they don't exactly perform. They're not like huge impact guys right away. These are guys who I think are a little bit more like proven and like have actual spots. Like I don't know how Riley Green could come up, but where's Adam going to play him? Right, he doesn't have that roster spot. But Aaron Ashby, Nate Pearson those seem like guys who can come up and down, off and on the roster, and provide value to Adam immediately. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on those guys or some other prospects from Adam's farm system.
So
I don't know
the thing here with Adam, he has 14 guys in the MLB top 100 and 5 of the top 7.
It's insane.
That seems like an absurd stat. Yeah.
How did we let him do that? As a league, collectively, we failed.
He spent
We
a
all went
total
win
of
now.
105 BAM on Torkelson, Luciano, and Abrams. That's using BAM wisely. Riley Green for 8. I have no clue how we let him get Riley Green for 8. I agree with you on the Ashby and Adley ones. Adley, just because he has that all-star catcher potential, that could be a game changer. Like Salvi.
Take a look back at this.
Realmuto.
There's clearly an opening right there.
Yeah, clearly an opening. I mean, pitchers are always, going to be beneficial in this league. So Pearson, I don't know yet. But sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. I think my biggest possible player that you could say that he'll probably have the biggest impact, and this is just me thinking kind of off the top of my head into what this Goober needs, which isn't too much. Sure, Adley Rushman is going to be the catcher of the future and pretty much the only catcher that Adam's going to invest in. But I look at this once again. I look at that second base position. I keep thinking to myself: is he going to be able to trust DJ LeMahieu or any of his bench to be able to to carry the workload? And I look at Vidal Brujan, and I'm thinking to myself: if he can at least develop into some sort of consistently good player for the Rays, he doesn't even have to be that great. He just has to be a little bit consistent and can stay up to the major league level.
Vidal Brujan needs to be trade bait. Adam, I'm telling you right now, you watch this. Trade Vidal Brujan. His value, you get a lot for him right now. You know who needs him? Ben needs him. Dave needs him. Joe needs him. Guys like that, they need a young guy who's going to be up starting this year. You don't have a spot for him. Those guys do. Make a trade.
He might have solved this problem. I don't know how if Tatis will have permanent outfield eligibility to start next year, but Tatis, Story, and Wander Franco, that's 2 shortstop positions that you're primarily going to start, and then Tatis in the outfield kind of resolves that. The addition of the utility spot will help with that. Otani's obviously taking up one of the utilities already, so. He's going to have to figure out how to squeeze this roster and make sure he can roster everyone.
We have that extra coming in this year too.
Yep.
I think the popular phrase is it's a really good problem to have. If there's a problem to have, this is a problem to have. It's not trying to decide between garbage and more garbage. Deciding between all-star, and Hall of Famers, possibly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's enough about Adam. There is plenty of time to praise his team in the coming weeks, and we're going to experience Adam fatigue sooner rather than later. Anyways, he starts to win every foreseeable championship in the future. So we'll move on here right now, and let's talk about maybe the most polarizing figure in the league when it comes to ownership, and that's good old Uncle Bean.
I don't know. I don't know how he can be the most polarizing when you have an owner that still hasn't bought the belt yet. So
that's fair. Maybe
there's an exception.
Ryan, anyone that sticks out for you on this team?
Abraham Toro for how shit a utility that is.
He stole bases.
Cool. Hook him. It's come on.
He stole 6
Abraham
bases.
Toro.
6
Abraham
bases.
Toro.
Bases plural, JD.
Bases plural. Starting Nicky Lopez at second is a cry for help.
No.
Alejandro Kirk.
We're going to come back to that. Go on.
I don't hate that Nicky Lopez spot. I think there's worse in this lineup.
There's worse in this lineup, but the fact is that I look at his lineup and having Nicky Lopez be maybe a legitimate top 5 option in this lineup, that's a cry for help. That's a cry
I'll
for
give
help.
you that. He shouldn't be a top 5, but he is underrated. He will play.
The players that I find that are really good, or that I would be absolutely thrilled for if I'm being Kirilov, obviously. Dansby Swanson made great steps last year. He's going to be an important part. I want to see if I can get maybe a year more out of Joey Votto. He's somebody that I would absolutely ship to the deadline.
He absolutely has to get another guy.
Yeah. He has to, because like if he even like if Joey Votto even gets like the first 10 games out of the gate and sniffs success, Joey Votto's got to be on the next plane out to somewhere else for assets. I personally love Lourdes Gurriel, but I don't see where the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be playing him, so that'll limit his thing. And as you can tell, I haven't even mentioned any pitchers yet because I don't think many of them are too mentionable.
Are you a believer in Frank Schwindel repeating a Rookie of the Year like performance? No believers in Frank Schwindel.
I can't necessarily say that I hate Frank Schwindel because I also invested in the Chicago Cubs lottery with Patrick Wisdom. So Schwindel, you're going to get at best maybe average first base numbers, which aren't bad. But I mean, what are you going to do? Like,
first base numbers is so sad nowadays. That is such a downtrodden position from the glory days, though, of a decade ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, average first base numbers are pretty garbage. And
in fact, I can roster Eric Hosmer and not feel like I should just quit the league.
But I look at it. I look at his roster right now, and it legitimately occurs to me that for being to even be able to be close to sniff the playoffs, Frank Schwindel has to be a top 5 first baseman.
That's
aggressive.
It's unrealistic to think that, but that's what I'm getting at, because like it's so unrealistic to think that Bean makes the playoffs with this roster, with this lineup. He's not going to win much in terms of offense. He might get stolen base category win here, there, everywhere, because his lineup does have some speed. But this is another
team. This is another team I want to spend like a 30-minute deep dive into. But I don't know. Like, let's get some thoughts. JD, let's get some thoughts on the pitchers.
From what I'm seeing, name-wise, it's just a lot of relievers.
Yeah.
They're not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they are starting, they're not going long innings. Like, is Bubic pitching long innings? Is Dane Dunning pitching?
Let's play a fun game. Okay. All right. JD, in 2 years, I want you to name for each pitcher on this list, majors or minors. And if you say majors, I want you to name starter or reliever. Oscar Yanoa.
He'll be a starter, I believe.
I second that.
Okay.
Shane McClanahan.
Starter.
Garrett Whitlock.
But he was fading this year. Ryan disagrees on Shane McClanahan.
So McClanahan, I think, can have a very good career going forward, but it's not necessarily that I think that he's a starter or reliever. I think he's a starter. I think the Rays will use him as an opener or like a long reliever type of guy.
They have so much ending now. Why waste one of your like legit good guys though? I like McClanahan.
What does analytics say about that? I don't know.
I don't know. They were just bought by the New York Times, so you got to ask them after their acquisition's done.
Well, we know Richard Rodriguez, reliever. Jonathan Lasagna. Majors or minors, and reliever or starter?
I think he'll be a reliever. He's not going to be elite by any means.
No, majors.
He might not even be great, but
majors reliever probably shipped off in a year and a half or something.
Ugh.
I don't see where he fits in New York.
Daniel Lynch.
Minors. Trash.
Really? Okay.
Trash.
I could see him being like a pitcher, but I might be off this Royals pitcher train, as sad as that sounds.
Really?
Chris
I don't know. They haven't really shown much.
Chris Bubic, minors.
Bubic, same
They're
thing.
all young.
Minors, reliever, starter.
I actually think Bubic is going minors.
Yeah.
Wait, did he spend something like 40 BAM for him?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Is that worth it for who we think will be in the minors at some point?
It was worth it for me to trade him.
TJ Antone, I think he's a reliever.
I think he's a reliever. I don't know if they ever wanted him to be a starter there since Dane Dunning. How about him? Does he have the stuff to be a starter, or is he going to be a converted relief pitcher soon?
I think you kind of have to keep him as a starter, I think.
starter for the short term, but I think in the long term they'll probably transition him to reliever. He's just
So
I don't know.
starters 2 years from now on his team, McClanahan. That was it.
That's it.
Maybe Dunning.
That was it.
That's
But we
it.
got this guy over here. So let's flip the page here.
Yep.
And instead of actually going to this next page, and we'll go to it in just a second, I'm actually going to skip down here and go to maybe this page right here. And let's take a look at here at what Bean's got coming up this year. Projected 2022 ETA. JD looks like he's going to be sick.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of names to digest.
We got 3 Camden Yards AL East pitchers here: Grayson Rodriguez, DL Hall, and Michael Bowman.
Mm-hmm. And we know how well the Orioles tend to develop their pitchers historically.
Is my mathing right? Is that 33 names?
It might be combined 2021 guys still coming up in 2022. I think it's about that number.
30. I count 33 as well.
So this team may theoretically have an entire roster full of turnover. It's going to be interesting to see comparing his opening day lineup to his closing day lineup.
I can't wait for Bamlord Dave to just get like 5 studs out of this when Bean eventually has to like drop people.
Well, I don't think
BLD is just going to be on the sideline just waiting to.
I mean, I like Grayson Rodriguez and Hunter Green. Even DL Hall, like those are 3 solid pitchers. So we just mentioned that he had 2. That we see about 2 starters.
I don't know why he's down here, JD, too, but Matthew Liberatore is down here. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yep, Liberatore. Brian Abreu's a closer or a reliever at the very least. So
Look at the very bottom left. Joe Ryan. I've heard nothing but good things since he got to Minnesota, and I think he's going to be great. I really do. I think Joe Ryan's actually behind Grayson. I think he could be the best here on this list.
I like Groshans for the Blue Jays.
I still maintain a little bit of faith in Jarren Duran this year, but again, we'll see how that transpires with
He's
Boston.
been like last in stolen bases the last couple of years. He really needs some of these speed guys to be coming up like Jarren Duran and to be producing.
Don't worry, his newest speed demon, Keibert Ruiz.
Right, yeah, he traded Francisco Alvarez, so now his catcher future, Zunino, Alejandro Kirk, and Keibert Ruiz.
Yeah, let's talk about his newest acquisition. Welcome to the team on Team Bean, Sal Frelick, who is now the hottest property in Bean's farm system, or at least according to Bean himself.
He should have multi-positional eligibility. He's with a good team. He is a top 100 guy immediately coming out of the MLB draft, and he should theoretically produce in like 4 out of the 5 categories. He might be a 5-category fantasy player. I'm not saying this guy's so far away from the majors it's not even funny, but let's not like pretend like Sal Frelick's good. He's a good player, Ryan.
He's a good player, yeah. I didn't necessarily want to part with him, but for the price that was out there, I figured they're
You get a top 10 guy.
pretty much else goes.
Mm-hmm.
Got a top 10 guy for that, so.
Projected records here, commissioners seem to be unanimous at the 75 win mark. Oh, JD upped it to 78. I don't know if that was outdated or not, but still right there in that mid-70s mark. What do you think, Ryan? You agree with that?
Yeah, I don't find any way to disagree with that. I think as much as I've been one to yell at the moon for conference realignment, I do think that the second conference is getting a little bit better this year in terms of, and there is going to be a little bit more activity with each team this year. So I think that even Bean's record from last year with a better team is going to get severely impacted by a little bit more commitment from everybody on his side. And 75 wins, I think, is probably my maximum. I would go as low as 65. I do not think he's going to be more than a 3 to 4 win per week.
Bean has never
team.
finished last in the division.
Well, there's miracles always happen. So I think that's
hasn't it. Can't you just say that as Vinny's always finished last?
Yeah. We'll get to Vinny in a bit.
Yeah, Vinny's going to have to wait till he gets his roster defended. He's the last one on this list. But...
55 BAM for... Oh, no, it was 50 BAM for Hunter Green.
50 or 55 or something? Yeah, it was a lot.
50.
It might be worth it. He's throwing over 100. Still
yeah.
I don't know. You guys have final thoughts on this team?
I don't want to have any more thoughts on this team, so let's just move forward.
On to the next.
All right. Moving right along here then. PLD, an equally talented team.
Okay, that I would say not. I would say he's more talented. One, because he had a better record than Bean last year, and two, he hasn't. He at least has a.
He's got
he at
pieces.
least has an MO, which is do nothing, have good players now. So I look at his roster, ignoring the catcher position, which I think is even worse. I think having that catcher is worse for him than having no catcher. Anthony Rizzo in New York is a really good first baseman to have, regardless of what you think, because he's a left-handed first baseman. He's a power hitter, and that short deck is going to treat him well. Trey Turner's a beast. Chris Taylor is a low-key beast that can play anywhere with the positional eligibility he has. Aaron Judge will always have that bat. Adolis Garcia, out of all the people that could have bid on him, I would not have thought that BLD would have jumped in on him. But Garcia ended up being a very nice snag. And there's a few other pieces in there that I like too, especially in the pitching department with Matt Barnes as a nice little relief. His relievers are actually kind of low-key pretty nice. He will have to work on the starting pitch.
With this division, the relievers are nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, the starting pitching leaves a lot to be desired, and he's going to need to take a lot of care with the starting lineup, although I think as the next slide will probably tell you there's not much to go on from the minors. So,
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Biggest loss on this team, Kyle Seager's retirement.
Yeah, R.I.P. Kyle Seager. But that's damn Lord Dave. One player retires out of nowhere and your team is screwed because you have nobody to replace him. So I've seen him be a lot more active. Drew's been one of the people that has been pounding the drum on activity that Dave has done. I'm curious to see how that translates to prospect bids, to trades, to being active that way.
That's the crazy thing, though. This team could easily get 10, 20 prospects tomorrow if they wanted.
They could get 20 prospects. They could get 5 win-now players that would make this team a scary team to play against, depending on where you get it from.
Yeah.
Adam is quoted as saying at some point in the not-too-distant past that you lined up all the farm systems right now. Adam's taking BLDs over about half the league just because of the sheer amount of BAM that's there right now.
407.
Yeah.
What's the next?
Sounds like a bit of a
here.
Yeah.
His immediate contributors in his farm. It is a 2-man farm. Louise Gill and Corbin Martin.
I think I saw a tumbleweed just go across my computer monitor.
Danny, you want to shed some light on these guys? Because the only commentary I could provide you was that they're guys. They do exist. It's like BLD. Contrary to a lot of popular beliefs.
He exists.
Adam, I'm thrilled to take this opportunity to be the high man on Bam Lord Dave.
He hasn't
Adam
finished over 500. Can we talk about that for a second? Adam has him finishing over 500. The man who could not have the more opposite ethos to running his entire FTN organization thinks that he is going to have a successful season.
don't see how that's possible. I would like to think that Cinderella is going to come back again and wear the heels and ride in the carriage, but I don't think that's going to happen for him once again. I think there's going to be some soul searching with a lot of other teams not named Bean in the conference, because Bean doesn't like searching his soul with his team. And I think there will be. I think Laffy, you're going to see make series playoff push this year. I think Vinny's got to be pissed that he hasn't made it yet.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Bam Lord Dave was in the semifinals last year.
He was in the semifinals. That is correct. He was in the semifinals. He made it. He was a wild card. He beat out Bean for the wild card, and I believe he eliminated Laffy in the first round.
So is it out of this world that he finishes above 500?
It's not out of this world. However, do remember that when he made the playoffs, he was 10 games. He was like 10 games under 500.
Correct.
He still made the playoffs. So I do think that a 10-game improvement with looking at what his team is, and it is basically the same minus Kyle Seager, I can't see it. So unless major actions are made, I kind of see him taking a very big step back, if only because he doesn't have much to back up a Kyle Seager retirement.
I think this might be a relevant time to point this out, and maybe we'll get back into this. You know what? I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this for later. We'll get to it when we get to you, JD. But
Drew, why you teasing?
You know, sometimes I'm just not ready to drop what I'm about to drop, and we'll get there. But
I can't
we
wait.
all
I
know,
can't wait.
you know, long story short, here, BLD, he's got a division that people aren't out here exactly, you know, calling murderers row. So you know, maybe Adam's right on here, over 500 in a playoff appearance. You know, he did it last year. He was a semifinalist, and I'm sure none of us had that on our 2021 bingo cards. So
I think he'll be in the playoff discussion, but I think he's going to be closer to 80 wins.
Okay. All right.
There first from all of us. All
That's
right.
a take. Love it. Love it.
Who do we got next? Oh boy, this will be fun. I'll shut
Drew
up. What do you guys think?
Aller.
JD, do you want me to be honest?
Yeah, go ahead. Be honest. Shoot it.
If this team doesn't win the championship this year, they still got a good future, but there's going to be a few years where they're going to need to figure out what they're doing. Because right now, their pitching staff is Brandon Woodruff, who is phenomenal, Adam Wainwright, who was phenomenal, but again, I take Waino on a year-to-year basis considering his age.
Is this his last year? I think it's got to be his last year.
This is his last year. He's unless he decides to go full Big Ben and continue doing last year's until the end of time.
Yep.
Jack Flaherty's coming off, an injury, and it wasn't a minor one. So that's something to look out for. The relief pitchers are not good. Chad Green's just a guy in New York. Scott Barlow is a guy in Kansas City.
They both finished top 20 relief pitchers last year. But
yes, as a long relief pitcher. Like, they weren't closers. They weren't just normal relief. They were just guys.
Just guys.
The best, of course, having Alec Manoah, Brandon Woodruff, and Jack Flaherty is gross, and I love it. I do think the over-reliance on Cardinals and Royals, as mentioned in the picture, is concerning. Tony Gonsolin I love, but I don't know if he's going to find his place in LA. And then we go to the starting lineup. The best catcher in the league.
There you go.
Best catcher in the league, game changer, should be able to win a ton more games this year. Following that up with Eric Hosmer is a bit rough, but I love Whit Merrifield, even though he's sneakily getting old. Matt Chapman is regressing a bit. I've heard rumors of a potential trade in play between the Yankees and the Athletics, where the Yankees would acquire Chapman. And
I love that, by the way. But
I hate that.
You don't seem to like it.
I hate that. He would be phenomenal defensively. But if you look at his numbers the last few years, it is quite evident that the regression is on, and it's pretty bad. I understand he plays Noco, but I mean, if you're not a lefty in Yankee Stadium, people do tend to over-rely on the Yankee Stadium ballparks for righties. So I love Bo Bichette. Tommy Edmonds, awesome. I had him for a while. Adalberto Mondesi will be phenomenal for the 50 games you have him max.
He's a luxury.
It's a luxury. Juan Soto is the best player in baseball, or at least the best fantasy asset in baseball. Tyler O'Neill is awesome, even though he's a late bloomer, but we've seen that before. I don't think you're getting much with Adam Duvall going forward. Same with Avisal Garcia. Lol Gavin Lux, even though he's the most polarizing player in this league. And I don't know much about Tyler Stevens. So it's a really good team.
I'm counting his ESPN roster. I think there's a total of 12 Royals and Cardinals players.
Cardinals players. Waino's going to retire. Salvi's not getting any younger, even though he is elite.
Same thing.
Merrifield's not getting younger. Mondesi is not getting any healthier.
JD, you're silent over there on my team.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know. I'm having some audio problems. Yeah.
JD, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I think this team is more primed to compete in 2024 as opposed to this year in 2022. And whether that means he's going to have to maybe find value on Mondesi before Mondesi is down to 20 games a year, a slowly aging Whit Merrifield, I don't know.
Slowly aging. He led the league in stolen bases last year.
I know. I'm still a big fan of Whit.
I am too, but he's not getting any younger.
Yeah, I think this team is.
And then he went out.
I think this team is a year away from being 2 years away.
Still,
answer your question there. So, okay, let's go to your prospect system and deal with that.
Wow, I just cut out for 15 seconds.
People they didn't put Dalton Varsho on this list. Crazy.
This is not great. Ryan, you still there with me?
I am.
Okay. Drew's not, but it looks like Drew pulled up the slide anyway.
Being silent. We're reviewing his team.
Top impact prospects. What is your?
I can hear you now. JD's frozen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when JD gets his connection back, I guess I'll go for this.
Oh no.
Again, I see this as close to a 100-win team. I don't see it as a 100-win team. I think it's very close. I think JD was correct in saying that this team would probably be in the playoffs, that this team will likely be taking steps forward, and that this team would probably be the most competitive in 2024, not necessarily 2022, because I do think there's going to be a step back next year regardless. Having AJ Puck as the number one, I don't think there's going to be necessarily a ton of impact because, again, as it's said in the color commentary, there is a bit of major injury risk.
Can I just add that these impact prospects were not ranked 1 through 3? It's just there's no ranking to this.
Yeah, I do like Reed Detmers a lot. I do like Reed Detmers a ton.
Yep.
Let's talk trade.
Happens to be his highest ranked prospect.
Yeah. I do like Reed Detmers a ton. I think there is a bunch of opportunity for him that he could take advantage of this season. Again, it's going to come down to Gavin Lux. Was Gavin Lux a good return for Mike Trout, or at least a piece in the Mike Trout deal? We know that Brandon Woodruff was. That's not out of the question.
Why do we call it the Mike Trout deal and not the Brandon Woodruff deal? That's this whole thing could be framed differently if we just call it
is Brandon Woodruff a Hall of Famer?
Is Mike Trout relevant going forward?
Is Mike Trout a Hall of Famer? Is Mike Trout already a Hall of Famer? Yes. Then it's the Mike Trout deal.
Oh.
Yeah, no. It's the deal is named after whoever got the best player, and the best player is Mike Trout.
Yep, that's fair. What people seem to gloss over, this is the second largest farm system in the league behind Beam.
Is it really?
44 players are in the farm.
Here's the thing about Drew's farm system, though. You can actually see a vision that's not littered with bullshit. Like, I like Drew's vision. I like what Drew's got. There are I know, like, I do think that there is a way forward for this team to be extraordinarily good. The one thing that I will regret ever doing was selling you Matt McClain. That was a mistake for me, and I will never live that down. You have a bunch of shortstop prospects.
Every time I call over my farm system, I will
It's
say-
just shortstop.
Well, it's not even that. He's not my type of prospect. He's not like I look at my farm system like this is the one guy that doesn't fit here. He doesn't feel like a true prospect.
I'll take him back if you want.
Like my own I guess mental psyche around my entire team here. Like I just look and Matt McClain makes me want to fucking puke.
I'll take him back if you want.
Well, ironically, one of the reasons why I'm high on this team in that 2023, 2024 range is Hassel, Priester, Henderson, and McClain. I think that's a solid, those four can be some big impact guys for Drew's team. If they
I want to see how Lars Newtbar continues to do this season.
I do too. You and I are alone in wanting to see that.
It's the most interesting person. It's the most interesting person in baseball, if only because of his name.
Dalton Varsky.
Guy sounds like a Danish candy bar you find at the convenience store. Lars Newtbar.
You want a soliloquy here about Dalton Varsho a bit, JD, or is that better left for Adam in a future episode?
Please, for Adam.
That might be
For my own sake, just save it for Adam.
Oh my God. All right. Well, we've probably talked enough about my team. We can move on. I talk about my own team enough. You guys are all familiar with it. We don't need to talk too much about it.
Yeah. Here comes the evil empire next.
Is that what we're adopting for Jack? Because I'm all on board. He's in my division, and I don't even feel like sometimes I'm the most hated person in the league in my own division. It's awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Jack, for having people fucking hate you. It's great.
Yeah. Now, I will start out by saying this. Is this the beginning of the end for Jack? I'm going to throw out a hot take.
What?
Yeah.
He said, beginning of what?
Hey, I labeled it as a hot take. Is this the beginning of the end of Jack?
Oh, you can't go back and say, is this the end? You did not ask that as a question.
No, I did.
You stated that this is the beginning.
No, I did say no. At first, I did say, "Is this the end?" I didn't. It wasn't a statement. It was a question.
I'm going to edit out the "is" after this is done recording.
Beginning of the end? I disagree with that.
I believe that this might be the beginning of the end, but let me go through my motions here. I'm not particularly jazzed in terms of Jack having a top 4 rotation this year, considering all the moves that other teams have made.
No Glasnow
already. Glasnow. That's going to be. It's going to rely a lot on Tyler Glasnow's arm, and I don't necessarily see that happening overnight, especially with the severity of his injury. Gassman is good. I don't know if it was a one-hit wonder. Snell is not the pitcher he once was. Edluz Diaz, for God's sake. How is he still a starting relief pitcher on this team?
He had over 30 saves last year.
Yeah, but where he costs him literally every time is WHIP and ERA, and it's really tough for a relief pitcher to do that negatively to an extent. And
you could always in-game the other team when Edwin Diaz came in, and you would be up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's automatic. But Lance Lynn, good. I don't know how much rope he has left. Sandy Alcantara, I love, but he's not.
I love too. That was far and away the worst player deal in MLB free agency this year. If I'm Sandy Alcantara's agent, I can't believe that that's all he got. For those of you who are unaware, he got something like 5 years, $50 million or something. Only like $10 million a year for a guy who's
That's
like
nothing.
right in his prime, pitcher in a pitcher's ballpark. So his numbers are going to be even better than they would be like if he had signed for another team. He's comfortable in that environment. That's the most team-friendly contract that was given out this year. It's absurd.
Mhm.
The dude's a
Yeah.
200 strikeout pitcher in a day and age where 5 pitchers reach 200 Ks in a season now.
I
But
think
yeah, that's what I'm saying is that I really do truly think that Sandy Alcantara is going to be probably his best pitcher throughout the year. And
I
while
agree.
he's really good, I think that limits what can be done.
I think you need to keep in mind the guys who didn't make this list: Trevor Rogers, Pablo Lopez, Tyler Malley, Chris Paddock. He essentially has the Marlins.
pitcher. Yeah.
He's the Marlins.
It is not bad.
He has the Marlins pitching rotation minus
The Marlins are not going to get you wins. Like, they'll be fine, but the Marlins aren't going to get you wins.
Yeah, but you know who does get you wins here? The other guys. Gausman and Lynn and Snell pitching for the Padres.
My question,
Webb.
Snell does not get you wins anymore. Snell won't get you wins anymore.
Even if you can forget about Snell, the other guys still will.
I'm not necessarily sold on Gassman long term. I'm not necessarily sold on Lynn
That'd be
like
long.
going forward.
That'd be long. He's got guys.
But- Yeah.
You missed.
Now,
Sorry.
the reason that I also take a look, this is twofold. So his lineup is pretty good. That's an understatement. Jared Walsh is a utility. Is disgusting with Matt Olson in there. That's a 1-2 combo at first. Randy
Michael
Rosarena,
Brantley's on his bench.
Michael Brantley's on his bench. Mitch Haniger, Teoscar Hernandez, Luis Robert,
I'm
Bryce
shaking
Harper.
my head because I don't agree for 1 second that the lineup is the strength of this team. The pitching is the strength of this team.
It's the pitching, yes. I think his pitching is the deepest in this league.
This lineup's not underrated. This lineup is overrated.
No, I think his
So-
lineup's appropriately rated. I think his only holes would be Solak and Rojas.
So if we take a look at his stats from last season, he was second in runs, second in home runs, first in RBIs. He wasn't great at stolen bases, and his OBP was second.
We don't use stats here.
We do when it comes to actually making sense of who was winning what category. His strength was he did have a pretty good starting rotation. When it came to whip, however, he went down to third. When it comes to save holds, he went down to fourth.
You can't say all we know is that the last 2 seasons, including the COVID one, has been an arms race in my division with Sean and Jack acquiring pitchers at the deadline.
But
They're trying to improve their chances going into the playoffs. These dudes finish with so many more innings pitched and strikeouts and wins than any other team because it is a literal arms race.
It's
But that's-
a
Not
but
even
what I'm-
the whip may
what
be
I'm-
third, but come
I
on.
do want to mention Sean's recent acquisition to kind of counteract that. I do think his acquisition of Max Scherzer this season does, at least in the matchups that he has with Jack and 4 matchups, does take away a little bit of Jack's bite. And again, I think, Drew, with your team fully healthy, I don't necessarily think Jack's going to dominate you in all the pitching stats that you usually see. I do think there's going to be some significant win regression with Jack, and I don't think he's going to necessarily be as dominant over the league this year. He's got a phenomenal lineup. But again,
With you on this whole win regression. Dang. JD,
But-
you have him progressing in wins. What the hell, man? That's not the popular opinion.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in Jack. In terms of how he's running his team and what he does in season with his management in terms of spending a few BAM to acquire guys that can help right away. I think that's his farm system mindset, which we will focus on in just a bit. But he has a lot of guys that are here to be immediately called up and help out, and just he can rotate them as need be. Like I said, I think he has the deepest pitching staff and the best pitching staff in this league.
You gotta spend a little bit of time down in Tempe, Phoenix, Arizona last spring with Jack as we were down there attending some spring training games.
Yeah.
A couple of us. What was kind of it was your first time meeting Jack in person. What was kind of your impression as far as his his team build, his approach to team building in this league? What kind of
It's
stood
true.
out to you because I know we talked so much about baseball down there, and I know what stood out to me. What kind of stood out to you about like how Jack's going about this league?
I don't know if it's the same that we saw. Jack loves using his statistics to back things up.
Which is great, and I think he does a great job. He's been probably one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league for the first 3 years of this thing. My only concern is, and I will inquire, can we take a look at the next slide, and I'll tell you why I think that this may need to be a calendar year for him, or else I think you're going to have a few people in his lineup age out, and then it's not going to get pretty. Kopech. The fact that there is a potential for either a huge amount, and I know that Goober put the Dylan Cease level talent because he just acquired him. But I think Kopech can be really, really good. I also think that Jack could die on this hill if Kopech is not the guy. He's going to be spending a bit of BAM on him just in BAM Chai's tags. I do like Julio Rodriguez. I do like Josh Lowe. However, I do look at the rest of his.
Let's flip to it. I'm gonna flip to his farm real quick.
It's not.
Yeah. Some quick question: what is Kopech's role? Is he a starter? Is he a reliever? Have they decided yet?
I think the fact that they haven't decided yet, and he's still eating up innings, doesn't help Jack in the least in terms of making a decision on that.
Yeah. What was Kopech's thing? He had Tommy John, and then he sat out of COVID. He was Calvin Ridley before Calvin Ridley, essentially. And then he comes back, he starts a bit, and then they make him a reliever. He hasn't really pitched the long innings that long, and not playing baseball for essentially 2 years. In 2019, 2020 is not ideal, obviously.
And he has one infielder in the top 100. He has a lot of pitchers. His farm system currently reminds me of the draft that the Los Angeles Angels just had. It's a bunch of pitchers that are at the major league level that he's got to have to make a decision of whether to keep or release or do something with. Because he has names. That's fine.
If Sandy Alcantara covers for Lance Lynn going forward, let's say Gaussman's not the answer, like you're implying here, Ryan.
Or Logan Webb is not the answer.
Loses a lot of its luster. There's not a high impact pitcher in this system outside of George Kirby.
Not one bit.
That's true. There's a lot of reliever potential in this system too.
A lot of reliever. But that's what he's trying to do. He has like Jonathan Hernandez. I actually think I traded for him. I might have him now. But a lot of these guys are like relief pitchers, like that.
Yeah,
it's really
at home.
All up and down.
It's really dangerous to try to play that though because relievers are so
look at this. Look at this
replaceable.
Look at this average age of for Jack.
Yeah,
not a single guy in his teens. Let me flip over to here real quick. And
like Rodriguez was the big one at 7 years.
To see Jack have the oldest age of prospect. 23.5. Max has like 2 guys that throws off the average. And Joe has a couple guys. Dave has 1 guy.
Those are 60 guys.
He has 60 guys. That's shocking. I am shocked to see that Bean has such a high average age of prospect.
I think that's influenced by guys like Tim Tebow, Russell Wilson, Drew Fowler in there.
That's fair. That's very.
That
fair.
brings the average up.
But Jack, it's just so old. It's so old. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting here, but it's
apparently I like him young. Ryan likes him young. Adam likes him.
Jack's got 5 guys. 5 guys on the horizon after this year coming up. Not
Drew. I personally don't think you're off base when it comes to saying that if again a few of these guys don't pan out, which I do fear for him in terms of Gassman's length, in terms of a few other things as well, he's going to have some trouble there.
Yeah,
and this is why I'm saying I personally am not as high on pitching depth as. JD saying that he has the best pitching in the league, I think, is egregious. Like it's very good. It's not the best pitching in the league. I'm not even going to toot my own horn with that, considering that I've sold off most of my pitchers. But like, what are you going to do?
Okay, Jack finished 114, 73, and 13 last season. Over,
I think
or under, better than that record.
Under. I think Drew's prediction on the slide right now at 106, 82, and 12. I think more ties are involved in there and less losses, but I do see him having about 106 wins, 110 wins, somewhere in
It
there.
really is the end of times when you and I start agreeing on things. So
It is.
that's good news for you, because it likely means Ryan and I are both very, very wrong. And two people who have shown to be arguably more astute in Adam and more successful with JD have you higher ranked, and that is likely going to be the case.
More successful by default based on weak conference, but I should just write that in the
kicked your ass in the championship game last year. You kicked my ass in the first.
I can't help that DeGrom was injured for that. Do you think
I couldn't help
lose
that
if
Mike
DeGrom
Trout was injured. But you know who doesn't care? Championships don't care.
You
That's
had traded
right.
him by that point already. You had traded him well before that point.
All right. Well, this will be the last team that we cover in this episode, because we're right at the hour mark here.
Gotcha.
Maybe we'll do a second episode after this.
Oh,
Maybe we'll do one another time coming up here. But for right
I'm
now,
free.
we're just gonna do this one, and we got JD on here. So
Yeah, I'll let you guys speak away. Although I think I know one person's opinion on this team.
I don't like it. I never have. Will Smith, overrated. Vlad Guerrero, he's fine. I'm going to do this so quickly. Ozzy Albies, overrated. Ryan McMahon, overrated. Francisco Lindor, overrated. Jose Abreu, old as fuck. Nick Madrigal, there's some people, the opinion on Nick Madrigal is so different from person to person, it's not even worth commenting on. Acuna, I hate Acuna. He's so overrated. He's going to come back from his injury and not be very good. Hot take right there. Dylan Carlson's all right. He's whatever. Benintendi, I think Benintendi and Carlson are so similar in my opinion. Eloy, so overrated. Bellinger should be dropped. Yordan Alvarez, overrated. Pitchers are like only ever slightly better. And even here, where's the ace potential? Aaron Nola's your best, JD. What are you doing? Steven Matz is my favorite, most underrated guy on this list, and that's only because he's a Cardinal and I'm a homer. That's my thoughts. I'm done. Sorry, I got like really aggressive there, but
Yep. I knew that was your opinion. So
Drew and I do disagree on the starting lineup. However, I do have to say that he pretty much nailed the pitching. Aaron Nola eats up a ton of innings. That's basically the only reason why he was nominated for the Cy Young this year. I know there are people like Goober that say that should be a thing. Those people are wrong, and they should stay wrong.
that innings pitch should be stat.
That innings pitch should come over actual performance and like things that
Best
happen.
ability is availability, Ryan.
Best ability is availability. That's true. However, Aaron Nola is not the best in the National League. Aaron Nola might not be a top 4 pitcher in the National League.
Not the best in his own team. Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, that's Zach Wheeler. Zach Gallen, I don't like. DeSclafani, again, the JD's team does scream hospital beds because he continuously uses them throughout every season we have, and DeSclafani typically is one of those guys that you just point and say he's going to end up on the IL. Lou Trevino is kind of whatever. He had a hot streak last year and then kind of tailed off. Drew Pomeranz is decent. Trading for Rich Hill, I understand that you got 8 BAM out of it. Yeah. Rich Hill is 40, and he looks perpetually 50.
Correct.
And I don't know why.
I think that trade was more for BAM purposes than Rich Hill purposes, considering Rich Hill would have been dropped in that trade, so might as well just have made it a 1-for-1 trade.
I do think, though, that saying that Patrick Wisdom is worth less than 8 is kind of very strikeout dependent on your point of view. However, since strikeouts aren't necessarily a thing in this league anyways, And then again, going back to the injury ward, Noah Syndergaard and Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo is crap now.
The most bullshit trade in league history, if I might add, for Noah Syndergaard. This collusion. You know what? I remember that Ryan called collusion on a trade that Adam and I did last season. We had to spend 2 hours during our work week one time, all of us on the phone talking about this collusion case. And the way more obvious collusion here was this Noah Syndergaard trade.
You can't.
Two perpetrators on this call with me right now.
No, here is what kills your Noah Syndergaard collusion trade. I had him the entire time since that trade.
Yeah, not only he hasn't traded him back to me, and also
Ryan didn't even open his season with the 2 guys that he got.
No, I just dropped him because it just helped me keep Ha-Seong Kim, who then I traded for different players.
There you go.
There you go, JD. It all comes full circle.
I think all 3 of us agree on my team's pitching. Ryan, you mentioned you disagree with Drew on my batting.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a little bit interesting. Ozzie Albies was the top second baseman last year, so I don't know what Drew's on about that he's overrated. He was the top performing fantasy second baseman in the league. Will Smith is awesome, in my opinion. Vlad Guerrero was an MVP candidate last year and probably will for the foreseeable future. McMahon is, a Rocky. Francisco Lindor is, I think the situation with the Mets doesn't really help him, so I will agree that Francisco Lindor is probably one of your weaker links as of now. Abreu's old, but he can still hit the crap out of the ball. I am very high on Nick Madrigal in terms of the future. I think in terms
he's not
of
a power guy. That's the only problem.
Power guy, but in terms of the return that they got for him, because I think that was a White Sox to Cubs trade where Madrigal was sent to South Side.
Yeah,
I do really think he's going to be a really good part going
How
forward.
important is batting average in this league?
Yeah, no, I just think that his on-base skills are what's going to kind of bring you through, and I do think that's a nice middle infielder to have.
Could you imagine being a low-level kind of just starting out, like your first gig going in out of college, out of high school, whatever, you're trying to break into the sports world, and you're like, hell yes, I got an offer with the Chicago Cubs to be a ticket salesman. Sure, it's like, you got to start somewhere. And your job is to try to sell season tickets to Cubs fans with a middle infield of Nick Madrigal and Nico Horner. Like, those guys are going to hit a combined 1 home run the entire year. And this is coming off of having Javi Baez.
Side note, can we officially move Nico Horner into meme territory for our league?
Starting 2022 infield for the Chicago Cubs. Please come buy your thousands of dollars worth of season tickets to see Frank the Tank Schwindel at first base, Nico Horner at shortstop, Nick Madrigal at shortstop, and Patrick Wisdom at third base.
Yeah.
It's a fun little group. Okay, getting to the outfield. Let's not sugarcoat it. Acuna is, in my opinion, before his injury, was probably a top 5 player in the league. I don't know how he bounces back from that. Having Dylan Carlson really helps.
Why are you guys so high on Carlson? As a Cardinals fan, can we talk about this? What's up?
What?
Carlson love.
What I see out of him every day in terms of what he can be is elite.
He'll be a 4th outfielder this year. No, he won't. It's true.
No, he won't.
But he's not going to play every day. Lars Nootbaar's got to play.
Lars
got to play.
Lars Nootbaar is not playing over Dylan Carlson. Lars Nootbaar is not playing over Dylan Carlson.
Don't tell me you're excited to see what Lars Nootbaar is going to do this season. Because
I'm excited because his name is Lars Nootbaar. But let's be honest, Dylan Carlson's going to play over him. He's just better. Benintendi,
JD.
I understand that Benintendi.
I want to hear from JD.
Drew.
Dylan Carlson. What's his stat line this year? Average home runs and ribbies. What's he got?
Average 265. Home runs, 25.
Oh,
Ribbies, 70. Runs, 100.
stolen bases?
100 runs?
Less than 10 stolen bases.
Yeah, no, he doesn't steal bases.
Less than 5 stolen bases.
Less than 5.
Right, that's like
He
a
does-
top. That's like a top 40 outfielder.
That's
That's like between 35 and 40 right there.
That's a
Yeah, but
top
at
40
age-
outfielder. Sure.
At age 23, that's fantastic, with still a lot of progression to go.
I guess.
Breakout year, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
Hey,
let's
I'll be pumped. I'll be pumped if he's good, right? Like,
let me wrap my last 4 up here. I know Benintendi was a killer last year in the championship.
Ryan, the 2 weeks that
No,
we
no,
played.
shut up.
JD can't even get in a word.
You don't
back.
exist, JD. You don't exist right now.
Yes.
I'm still not sold on Andrew Benintendi going forward. Just not.
Is Drew a Benintendi believer?
Benintendi's. Mr. America. Look at that on the left. If that doesn't scream future MVP, I don't know what does.
Brandon Crawford is on the block. That is a
Lineup
player
is so deep.
not
Crawford.
on this team. Right here that you see.
JD had to go into his urn to find Brandon Crawford and
Yep.
pull him out and shake the ashes off.
Oh my god.
He had to take his N64 thing, blow into it, and be able to put it back into the machine to be able to summon Brandon Crawford.
What thoughts you got? Jimenez, Bellinger.
There are a few fatal flaws to the lineup. However, Cody Bellinger is going to be one of those players that you can't drop him, but you can't have him in your team. And
Interesting.
unfortunately, JD's in that position right now. You can't drop him, but you can't have him on your team.
Yep.
Alvarez is fine. Eloy Jimenez is fine.
Drew,
Good.
can I read you off this stat line?
Go ahead. Let's
When-
play. I like this game.
I played Ryan twice last season. I went 2-0. Andrew Benintendi versus Ryan in those 2 weeks hit 20 for 45, 7 runs, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, and a stolen base.
I did. I need,
JD, would you?
I need
JD,
a meme for like each time you read something. Like it's that
The
guy
Vince
who's
McMahon meme?
more excited.
JD, can you do me a favor and read his stat line for every other matchup?
Don't have it off the top of my
Just like-
head.
just compiled,
Significantly
just
worse
math.
than 20 of 45 against Ryan.
So you said okay, hold up. You said 20 of 45, right? I'm going to do some quick math.
Yeah.
So 20 of 45
This is
against
the
me.
opposite of quick, by the way.
In all other plate appearances, so he was 20 for 45 against me.
Yes.
He was 93 for 386.
So
Otherwise.
he hit 241 against opponents not named Ryan. And he hit
Yes.
444 against Ryan.
Hey, the only thing that matters here, JD, was it worth it?
Yes, it was worth it.
Hey,
Oh, JD, let me continue. How many runs did you say that he scored? I'm sorry. I'm not even looking at the right thing. Hold up. You said he was 20 for 45 against me?
Yes.
20 for 45? Okay. So 20 for 45. No, he was 116 for 448.
116 of 448.
Yes.
That
Actually,
is 259.
Okay. So he was a 259 hitter.
Hey,
You said
JD.
how many runs did he score against me?
7.
Okay. He then scored 56 in all other areas.
He had 10 RBIs.
He's had 63 RBIs in all other areas.
Like, it's crazy. He had a stolen base. And
He had 7 stolen bases the
And
rest
2
of the
home
year.
runs. Like, he just went off against you.
He had 15 home runs. It's just stupid. Like everything
Ryan.
else, he overperformed.
You know what the most important stat though is?
That I lost.
1-for-1 JD in championship games against you.
I mean, I made some championship trades when it mattered. Brendan Rodgers, Ha-Seong Kim, 5 BAM for Jose Abreu. Immediately slotted him in my lineup.
The
and then
Jose
traded him.
Abreu trade was
Cancerous.
Dean's out here paying 40 for Chris Bubich 1 week, and then next week he's selling former AL MVP less than
Jose
a year
Abreu for
prior
5
to
BAM.
that for 15.
It's why I will never take Bean seriously in this league until he gives me reason to.
And then, Drew, I traded you Peraza and Bracha for Ryan McMahon. 2 prospects for an impact guy.
Did I get Bam in that trade?
No, you did not get Bam. You just got 2 prospects.
Yeah. Bracho, I was so disappointed. I saw an article the other day. He's down to the 29th ranked prospect in the the Guardians farm system. It's pretty brutal.
Okay, let's quickly go to the JD's farm system,
Sure.
which I think
How
is
excited are you about the left side of the screen?
JD's.
I'm very
Russell.
Yeah,
very
JD's farm system is by far my favorite farm system and probably my top-rated farm system of all farm systems going forward. Like, it's just so stupid. It's dumb. Bobby Wood Jr., dumb. Josiah Gray, dumb. Jack Leiter, dumb. Like Josh Jung, dumb. Like all of these guys.
MLB Networks had a bunch of reruns on right now during this lockdown off season. They were re-showing the 2001 World Series, Ryan, the Yankees Diamondbacks, and saw Bobby Witt Sr. play a bit of ball.
Thanks for making me feel old. I remember where I was that day.
So I actually have. So Bobby Witt is my favorite name in my farm system right now. There's actually 2 others. Shane Boz, very high on,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and then is this the year we see Mackenzie Gore finally show up to the majors?
He's got it in him, but for God's sake, I think he's probably in a better place now because of the people that have taken over. You're going to see Bob Melvin in San Diego, which is a massive upgrade. It'll be interesting to see, though, because I think San Diego's still in go-for-it mode, and I don't think they're going to have room to see a Mackenzie Gore if he's still in the developmental stage.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to probably see him bloom in 2023. I don't think it makes sense unless he's just ready for it.
Is
to
Mackenzie
become
Gore
part of
the
the
most
rotation.
disappointing top 10 prospect in our league's short history so far?
No, Gavin Lux.
Was Drew Waters ever in the top 10?
Gavin, no, you're true. How can you say that when
Me
you
and
own Gavin Lux?
Was Drew Waters in the top 10 at one point?
No, you can get like 15.
Okay.
Oh no, Ryan has his own control over his mute button. This is
Um.
totally not like around the horn.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, big emphasis is that my pitching's kind of bad. I'm just gonna have to hope one of these farm system guys of Baz, Josiah Gray, Gore, Jackson Coer, one of Drew's favorites, Brendan McKay, one of Drew's least favorites. Like, I need some of these guys to pan out.
So my tinfoil conspiracy hat is on right now, and JD or Adam, I'm not saying both of them, JD or Adam will become the dynasty over these next couple of years, and will continue to be that. One will clearly be better than the other.
There's so many teams out there.
One will clearly be better than the other, just in terms of I'm just looking at their current setup combined with their
both be
future.
really good. Wait, why does it have to be one or the other? Can't they both
Because
be really good?
Because, in my opinion, JD's future, with the talent that he has in every area, and coming up this year, next year, and when Jack Leiter arrives, I think you're going to see one of these two teams. Now, my prediction is that JD will be the team that comes out on top and begins that. I think a lot of people look at Goober as that, future dynasty of years and years. I currently tend to think that somehow JD is going to continue to run this thing out. But whether it be JD or Goober, regardless, one of them is going to have to probably take a look and see what they want to be able to continue win now motions. And I think what you're going to see is maybe you're going to see a few teams like Max, a few teams like Bandlord Dave at some point begin to spend to get the prospects that they want. And it's going to come from either JD or Goober.
That's fair. One last thing on my team that I just noticed. Drew might have a different answer for most disappointing top 10 prospect of all time. I didn't realize he was still on my team. He's tagged. Joe Adele.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's like number 8 or 9 or something like that.
He's up there.
Yeah, he was up there.
I never liked him personally. I guess not something to brag about, but he didn't really produce in the minors. I don't know why anyone thought he was going to produce in the majors. He was overmatched as soon as he got there, just like he was overmatched in AAA when he got there, overmatched in AA when he got there. I don't know, JD. What do you think?
It took him a handful of games to adjust. So it's not
Has
someone
he
I have
adjusted? Are we gonna?
high
Is this a
expectations.
breakout season?
They're actually
It's either his break. It's either a breakout season or his breakup season. It's got to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah,
So,
I think Pitcher List had an article recently about Joe Adele and a breakout. So Pitcher List is expecting high things. I don't know if I have high expectations.
So my question to you guys is: do you believe that JD is going to be the number 1 seed in Conference 2?
No. Well, I could reference my rankings and see if I actually think that or if I'm lying to the camera.
Drew just said something that he thinks is completely true, and then just thinks of it for like a half a second. Then he's like,
I
maybe.
do have JD as the number 1 seed. No, I don't. I have JD as the number 2 seed.
2 seed. You have Laffy as the number 1 seed. Okay.
I was going to say. I think I have Laffy, but I wanted to confirm.
And right now it seems like it's going to be a toss-up between JD and Laffy between you three. I would tend to think that JD, with everything coming up, not only coming up through his farm this season, which is a lot of elite talent, but what he currently has, I think he's going to be a runaway favorite for the top seed. I potentially have him at around 108 to 110 wins.
Can I just say I'm so excited to get to Vinny's team, though. That I think Vinny is such a dark horse this year. And again, I thought that the last 2 years have been horribly wrong.
These last 6 teams we'll have a fun discussion on. Now that we've kind of gone through the big 3 farm systems of Bean, Drew, Jake, and myself in terms of sheer quantity, and then Adams with sheer quality. These last 6 are more concentrated on their immediate win now as opposed to their farm. But they do have
Let me ask you this, JD. This is kind of an interesting question. Last year, you finished with a record of 105, 76, and 19. This year, you have yourself projected at 102, 75, and 23.
Mm-hmm.
That's a worse record than you finished with last year. Is that are you projecting a worse record for yourself this year because you think there's going to be progression from other teams? Or are you expecting that your team's just not going to be as good?
I think my pitching staff is going to hold me back throughout the regular season. And that will cause my team to not be as good as last year's championship run, of course.
Brutal honesty. Are we going to see a trade? Is this a call for help?
I mean, just looking at my team, pitching is a position that needs an upgrade. Correct.
All right. Well, for those of you who got pitchers out there, you know your guy. He's got some juicy prospects to trade too. You're one of those guys. Who do we talk about? Where's fucking BLD? Where's his pitchers? Hear that, BLD? Hear that, Dave? Jordan Montgomery, Joe
Charlie
Musgrove,
Morton.
JD's got an opening right there for you, man. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we almost forgot what I sneak previewed earlier and then snuck away. Here's what I wanted to bring up because this is so much fun to do. Let's just look at the fantasy defense real quick and admire how easy of a schedule JD had last year. and why I think his team is so overrated. JD had the second least runs scored against him, second least home runs against him, second least RBIs, second least stolen bases, a below average OBP against him, the second least strikeouts against him, below average amount of wins against him. He had the worst ERA against him, a pretty bad whip against him, and the third least save holes against him. Bean, Vinny, you guys playing 4 times a season. Step the fuck up, please. This cannot happen again.
Sometimes all you need to do is score a goal and then park the bus.
I'm going to take Drew's hand and I'm going to hold it and sing Kumbaya because I'm definitely bashing the same drum. I'm looking at his strength of schedule and I'm looking at Drew's and my strength of schedule and I'm looking at the entire look. All
the
six
top
of the,
six
part,
versus
the
the
top
bottom
six
six.
are all from Conference 1. Realignment. Bang that drum. Let's go.
I get brutalized on a near weekly basis, and maybe this is why I am swiftly losing my sanity. But, jeez, this is a call to arms for the
Conference
entire
2.
Conference 2 here. Some of these guys got some prospects coming up. Some of y'all just need to do a better job of in-season management. Let's reverse this graph. If I see JD at the bottom of this again, I'm gonna flip a shit.
Drew's going to immediately be like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's. You've asked for this all year round. You've asked for this for the past 3 years. We're finally doing this realignment bullshit.
We'll have to wait and see. Looks like no realignment this offseason, but going forward, Tribe has spoken on that.
All right. Well, that'll wrap things up here. We're just under an hour and a half. I had no expectations for what this was going to be like going into it, but I don't know. I thought we got a lot of teams covered. That was a lot of fun, guys, and we'll have to do the second half here at some point coming up. Unfortunately, that won't be out tonight. I'm going to quickly get this one pulled together, and then I got an 8 a.m. flight to Wichita, Kansas tomorrow. So I don't want to stay up too late tonight.
Yeah,
right.
we'll do the last 6 at some point. Maybe winter meetings. Spoilers.
And for all you out there who haven't had your FTN podcast interview yet, which we've now done for Bean and for Max, and we tried to do Ryan's, RIP that one. Let JD and I know, and Adam too. DM us or whatever. Call us even if you want to, and just let us know when you guys want to do that. We got about a month and a half left of the off season. We got some preseason. We'd love to give you guys like your chance in the spotlight. Let the league get to know you guys a little bit, talk about your team, and just kind of shit talk Ryan like while we're at it. So with that, we'll go ahead and close it out.
You know, who knows? You could have even more than a month and a half of the off season left, depending on this lockout. God, please no.
More lockout just means more trash talking Ryan.
Yeah.
Less distracted
And
by
more
baseball
time
things.
to get a belt.
Yeah, and Jack getting a belt. Yeah, still waiting on that.
All right. Peace out. See you, everybody.
Adios.